Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm Eric Wilson, joined by Colin Alcabes. Today, we're talking about the Rangers' second line and what a line has been, possibly the best offensive line in the entire NHL. Let's get right on into it. First off, I want to talk about Artemi Panarin. He's already breaking records in the first 5 games of the season. 6 goals, 6 assists for 12 points in 5 games. First Ranger in history to record that many points in just 5 games. He's also the first Ranger in history to have a multi-point game in the first 4 games of the season. He's off to an incredible start. I love Panarin, already looking like an MVP, Hart Trophy candidate early on. So I'm big on Panarin. Obviously, he's having a record-breaking year already. Last season had 120 points, and it's looking like he might even hit more. So I'm big on him. If you're big on betting or fantasy or anything hockey-related, put your money on Artemi Panarin. He's having an incredible season, playing good defensively too. Last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think he was a +2. So he's good offensively, good defensively. What more can you ask for Panarin? Curious to know how you feel, Colin.
I mean, you love to see him get off to the start that he has. I also think that a big proponent of that is just the play of his peers around him. Obviously, we always attribute the success of Trocheck and Lafreniere to Panarin, but I think it goes both ways this year, as so far at least. I think they said if you take Lafreniere's last 45 games, he's a point per game or something of that nature. He's on pace for 45 goals this season so far, and that's something you'd love to see from the kid. He's definitely picked up where he left off last season with his hot start, and that second line as a whole is just buzzing. Obviously, you'd love to see Trocheck as well, contributing as consistently as he is, maybe proving that last year wasn't just a fluke and a one-year wonder, but that he's here to stay and be, one of the best bargain deals in the NHL and one of the best centers in the NHL. As a whole, just anchoring that line defensively as well.
Yeah, speaking of that second line as a whole, which I feel like at this point we should consider it to be the first line. They receive just as much playing time as Kreider, Zibanejad, and Smith, and they're better in my opinion. I mean, stats pulled up right here through the first 5 games of the season. Listen to this: Artemi Panarin. I mean, it's only been 5 games, so take it with a grain of salt. There's not much of a sample size here to pull from, but through the first 5 games of the season, Artemi Panarin averaging 2.4 points per game, Vincent Trocheck 1.4 points per game, Alexis Lafreniere 1.2 points per game. So all 3 members of this line are averaging over a point per game thus far. Like I said earlier, Panarin 12 points in 5 games, Trocheck 7 points in 5 games, Lafreniere 6 points in 5 games. They're all playing incredible. I want to talk about our Alexis Lafreniere for a brief moment. He had the breakout campaign last year, nearly hit 50 points last season. And throughout the first couple of games this season, we kind of were like, this is an extension of that breakout. But I don't even feel like that anymore. I think the breakout is done. What we're witnessing right now is no longer a breakout. It's just elite hockey from Alexis Lafreniere. I'm not going to say he's reached his peak. I think he is going to keep getting better, and his point totals are going to keep increasing throughout the years. But this isn't a young kid finally starting to blossom anymore. We're looking at one of the best players on the entirety of the New York Rangers. Lafreniere, the goals that he scores, they're incredible. His shot looks elite. He's playing with such a high level of hockey IQ throughout these first 5 games. It blows my mind. We talked about in years past the fact that playing with Artemi Panarin and Vincent Trocheck is elevating Lafreniere to the next level, and I still do believe that to be true. But it's kind of a symbiotic relationship that I'm looking at now, where yes, playing with Panarin and Trocheck is helping Lafreniere score more, but he is also helping out Panarin and Trocheck. It's not like this young kid is just feeding off of the veterans that know what they're doing. He is doing that still, but he's also helping them do better. I mean, we talk about last season where the Rangers struggled at 5v5 immensely, and now all of a sudden we're one of the best 5v5 teams in the entire NHL, and most of our 5v5 goals scored so far at even strength have come from the second line. Sure, the first line has had some big changes. Riley Smith has been a massive addition to help out Kreider and Zibanejad, but when I think about success and the New York Rangers, I think about the second line, and I have to credit Alexis Lafreniere. There have been times where we were a little tough on him, a little bleak about what his future might look like because of the slow start. But I know, Colin, you personally, about 1,000 times, always compared Lafreniere's development to that of Nathan MacKinnon's, and how when MacKinnon was drafted first overall, he had a little bit of a slow start, and then eventually broke out into the superstar that we all know, Stanley Cup champion. And you were right. So like Lafreniere is proving to be a first overall draft pick. He's playing phenomenally, and I think he might be the most important player on that second line. Obviously, Panarin is going to have the most points, just based on the rate that he's been playing and what we can expect to see. But just point totals aside, I think if you had to pick one player that has the biggest impact on the success of that line, I'm giving that to Alexis Lafreniere. So, I mean, talk about him, man. You were right. Revel in your glory.
I mean, it definitely feels good. Obviously, when you look at first overall picks, everybody is like, what have you done for me lately? And so why aren't you? We've seen we're spoiled as NHL fans, and especially as New Yorkers, we're extremely impatient. But as NHL fans, we've seen the likes of Austin Matthews and the Jack Eichels and the Connor McDavids and all these guys get drafted. I mean, even Bedard and these guys come in right away and make instant impacts. But a lot of these guys didn't come in on teams where they were not really in a full-blown rebuild. Like, I get that the Rangers weren't like phenomenal. They were definitely in I would call it a retool, though. They had sold everything off, but they had already had Artemi Panarin. Mika had already started his breakout. Kreider was becoming the 30 to 40 goal scorer that he is today. We had a lot of guys taking that next step in their development, and Lafreniere was kind of just thrust into that. So he didn't get the top line minutes that every first round pick is going to get, or first overall pick, I should say. And so it is, and we've said it a million times, development is not always a straight line. And so sometimes it just takes a little bit of patience, and you get these beautiful things that, in Lafreniere, he's finally blossoming into the player that we've all expected him to be. So, I think that it's extremely important just to continue to monitor him and make sure his confidence is, staying at a good pace. I think that he's playing with such poise, and you mentioned it before, his hockey IQ and his vision is out of this world, and that's kind of what he was drafted for, but his finishing ability has also really come along. I mean, he had just a wicked wrister last night against the Maple Leafs. He had that toe drag release against the Penguins in the first game, but he's also making good plays. He had a play, I think it was against, I can't remember, I think it was the Red Wings. He went up along the boards, caught the puck, dropped it down, dropped it to Trocheck, who then fed it over to Panarin for a goal. Like, that line is just firing on all cylinders. The chemistry that they have developed over this past year and now year and a half has been phenomenal to watch. And he's really just blossoming into such a pivotal player.
It's not even a year and a half. It's a year and 5 games. And I don't have it pulled up, so I can't give credit, but this is not my quote. I saw a really funny tweet this morning that was like, I hope David Quinn and Gerard Gallant never get hired again because of what they did to Lafreniere. And that's so true, because literally all Peter Laviolette did was just show up and slap Lafreniere on a top 6 role, and look at what's happened. Like, we talk about Laviolette and all the wonders that he's done for the Rangers, and he's put a lot of good work into this team. And he turned us into President's Trophy winners and brought us all the way to the conference finals. But I think his best move was just putting Lafreniere on the second line, and then Lafreniere just took it and did all the work himself. What was David Quinn doing having Lafreniere on the fourth line? And then sure, Gallant had the kid line, which was good in theory. It got us places, but not all the way. At some point they needed to be promoted. And all Peter Laviolette did was just be like, hey, Lafreniere, you think you can score goals? And Lafreniere was like, yeah, probably. Then he slapped him in with Trocheck and Panarin, and all of a sudden we have one of the best players of recent draft years scoring unlimited goals and points for us. So I don't know. Shame on you, David Quinn, and shame on you, Gerard Gallant. Peter Laviolette all the way. I love Alexis Lafreniere. He knows what he's doing. It's all confidence, man. As soon as we slapped him in that top 6, his confidence was boosted. He's feeling like he is a number 1 overall pick again. Like, he's finally feeling comfortable as a hockey player in the NHL because he's not being pushed around and being forced to play on a physical fourth line that's not going to score points. So it's just a little frustrating in hindsight, But
I will say, though, it is nice to finally beat the Rangers can't develop talent allegation, because now a couple guys come up and kind of start turning into NHL caliber players, whether that be the Braden Schneiders. I know Kendra Miller's still a work in progress. and things like that. But you're getting like the Will Coolies, and even Philip Hedl is slowly coming along. I mean, he's had his moments where he's looked like a superstar, and then he's had his moments, unfortunately, due to injury and other things that have kind of slowed his role. But I think that he's still a very serviceable NHLer, and he could be a second-line center on a lot of teams. Unfortunately, we're extremely deep down the middle for the first time in God knows how long, thanks to, Vincent Trocheck, who we've mentioned multiple times in this episode. But, after drafting Kakko and then Laf, and then both kind of slow to come along, there was a lot of flack coming the Rangers' way. And I'm not even, I know a lot of people are still out on Kakko. I think that he just doesn't give him that opportunities. We talk about giving a guy a top 6 role consistently and just kind of sticking with it. And while Laf did have his struggles last year, he put it together. I feel like Kakko really hasn't gotten that cemented look. Not that I'm saying that he should get it over Riley Smith, but I feel like he's never really made it out of that third line role. But that's a conversation for another day. It's nice to see, one of our top prospects finally start to put it together and come and be that savior for the team. Thought that was something in my house.
My bad.
Look around. I was like, what was that?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was my Louisiana State University jersey has been shipped.
What a jersey?
Well, I'm going to those who watched last episode know that me and Colin went to the LSU versus Ole Miss game, and I'm going to the LSU versus Florida Gators game on November 16th. So I needed gear, so I bought a Joe Burrow jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that the viewers of this channel will just like never agree with me upon. But I feel like New York, other than like Syracuse, I feel like New York doesn't have that many great college sports teams.
I don't know. Rutgers is putting together I guess that's Jersey. Never mind.
Like what does New York have? Syracuse and who?
Cortland just won a D2 championship.
But I'm talking like big teams. So I'm an LSU fan. I'm an LSU fan. You're a Clemson Tigers fan. We're both Tigers fans, just different schools.
True, very true.
Point is, if there's any New York Rangers fans that happen to be either Florida Gators or Louisiana State Tigers fans, I'll be there on the 16th if y'all want to meet up. But see, now I'm distracted. You were talking about Cabo Caco, and you said we beat the allegations of being bad at developing prospects. I think we're close to beating those allegations, but we never will beat them until Cabo Caco scores more than half a goal per season. But
I think Othman and Perot come up, we can safely confirm that those will be put to bed. I have a feeling that those two guys will be the real deal when it's their time in terms of beating the allegations.
Yeah, well, we got like another 3 or 4 years until then. But I don't know. To wrap up the second line discussion, we had a whole segment on Panarin. We talked about Lafreniere for a while. Didn't really talk about Trocheck much, but he is the centerman. He deserves his love and his glory. He's also playing at over a point per game. He has 2 goals and 5 assists, 7 points in 5 games. And, he's not the guy that's going to be in the highlight reel much. Obviously, we saw the highlight of him scoring a double overtime goal against Carolina throughout the playoffs last season. But since then, I feel like he's kind of gone under the radar. But even though he's gone under the radar, it's not like he's doing nothing. He's playing phenomenally. His face-off percentage alone is enough to talk about him for a whole episode and just glaze him up. Like if the Rangers don't have puck possession, how are they going to score? Who's the man that gets him the puck? It's Vincent Trocheck. He's great at breaking out the play. Sure, Panarin and Lafreniere might be the finishers, but there's a reason why Trocheck has a lot of assists. He starts the play, he gets it going, and he's going to find his way on the score sheet. He had a criminally underrated season last year. He was one of the highest scoring forwards on the Rangers. I think he hit 70 points, if I remember correctly, last season. And I feel like not even just us, but most Rangers outlets we didn't talk about it much. We said it was his best year in the NHL, which it was. But looking back on it, that contract that he's on, insane. I think he's got 5 seasons left at 5 point something mil or 6 point something mil, one of the two. Again, don't have it pulled up, but we should have. But I just know the contract is insane. He's producing at an elite level. He's not old at all. He's 32, low 30s. And without Trocheck, it's a perfect combination. I could say that about any player on this line. Like without Panarin, the second line wouldn't be elite. Without Trocheck, the second line wouldn't be elite. And without Lafreniere, the second line wouldn't be elite. It's the perfect storm. You take three great players who have insane chemistry and work really well together. You put them all together, and you have what I might consider to be a top 3 offensive line in the entire NHL, if not number 1. I'm having a hard time thinking about anyone that's better than them right now.
At this current point in time, I don't know that there is a better line.
I don't think so. I don't think at all. Throughout the first 5 games,
there are lines that can compete with that line down the stretch, but as of this recording, there is not a better line in hockey right now.
As of Sunday, October 20th, 2024, 5:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's no better line than Artemi Panarin, Vincent Trocheck, and Alexi Lafreniere.
And that's electric. Love to see it.
It's a lock. But the point is, the Rangers are winning. We are 4-0-1, have not lost in regulation a single time. Our next game is against Montreal on Tuesday.
The jinx.
Knock on wood. Please don't let that be the first one. Montreal is not good.
I'm coming. Happens, man.
Cole Caulfield is going to walk into my apartment and just beat me up for saying that, and then he's going to go beat up the Rangers on Tuesday. But I don't know. Do you have any closing remarks, Colin?
I think we covered it all. I mean, it's the start that they've gotten off to this year. After that one fluky Utah game, which could be, some could put that loss on the refs, some could put it on the bad defense, which, I mean, it goes both ways. But the fact that they were still able to get a point out of it and have gotten a point out of every game so far this season, and a lot of their wins have looked pretty dominant. I mean, they beat a really good Maple Leafs team last night. So, I think that's a lot of this is just, it's a little surreal because usually, there's a little bit of a lag after a deep playoff run. You can be a little bit tired, and it takes you a little bit longer to get going. I mean, look at the Avalanche. I think they've won one game. And the Preds who made the playoffs last year, they spent $125 million or something like that, or a crazy amount of money. I don't think they've won yet. You see a lot of these teams who made the playoffs last year kind of getting off to these slow starts. But you see the Rangers, they're right back in it. They're clearly still hungry for more. And, it definitely, it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a New York Rangers fan.
Yeah, it is. Maybe this is finally the year. 31 years since 1994, the year of the Shesterkin. Who knows? But that about wraps up today's episode of Fireside Rangers. To the longtime fans of the channel that have been around for at least a year, if you remember last year, we did have the Fireside Rangers Halloween special. We're turning that into a tradition. We already have the graphics. Halloween is 11 days away, and we will be back in full costume for the 2024 Fireside Rangers Halloween special. So if you're looking forward to that, please make sure that you guys like and subscribe, and you ring that bell so you don't miss notification. It should be out on Halloween. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We always have technical issues when we plan these spectacular things. But either way, we will be back. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers, and be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Have a good one. Happy spooky season. Let's go Yankees, first of all. I feel like we should have mentioned that a lot earlier. Yankees are in the series. So if you would like to catch up on Yankees Fireside content, there is Fireside Yankees. We're not on it, but there's a very nice, talented crew over there that does cover the Yankees. So check them out if you are a baseball fan and would like to cover the World Series. I feel like I have to plug the whole franchise now. Fireside Giants is a thing. Tony does it. Y'all love Tony. The Giants aren't that good, though.
But they talk about a lot of fun stuff over there.
They do talk about a lot of fun stuff. So if you guys do enjoy the Giants, check them out as well. But as for the Rangers fans that we have here, have a good one. And let's go Rangers.